Hello there and welcome to World News Program, streaming to you live on All 24 News. I'm your host, Griffith Zachary, and up next are the headlines. 9 Palestinians died in Tulkarm due to a Zionist attack. There were clashes, a serious injury in Ramallah, and protests across the West Bank. And in just 24 hours, 31 Palestinians were killed in Gaza due to 3 Zionist massacres, including 17 at a school shelter and 5 in Khan Yunis. That's next. Also coming up, 1 killed and 2 injured in a Zionist raid on Tyre, Lebanon. Hezbollah retaliated with artillery. Meanwhile, Iran blamed the Zionist entity and the U.S. for Haniyeh's assassination and threatened retaliation. Hello again and welcome to the details. In the Gaza Strip, Zionist forces committed 3 new massacres in just 24 hours, resulting in 31 deaths and 62 injuries. The Ministry of Health reported that since October 7th, the death toll has now risen to 39,550, with over 91,280 injured. Many victims remain in the rubble or scattered in the streets, with rescue efforts hindered by Zionist restrictions. And on Saturday, at least 17 Palestinians were killed in a Zionist airstrike on a school housing displaced people in Gaza City's Sheikh Radwan hospital, or neighborhood. I'm saying the school, which had already been targeted earlier in the day, was hit again by 3 missiles while rescue teams were at the scene. The bombing also damaged several classrooms and caused many casualties, including children, who were all taken to the Baptist hospital. On Saturday, still a Zionist airstrike on a house in Khan Yunis, Gaza Strip, killed 5 Palestinians, including a child and 3 women. The attack targeted a house in the Miraj area between Khan Yunis and Rafah. And amid the ongoing conflict, Palestinians in Gaza are struggling to find safe refuge. They face harsh conditions, including a disease and a lack of clean water, which compound their daily survival challenges. More on the story with Mohammed Khatina.
In the scorching heat of summer, Al-Mawasi camp stands as a dreadful testament to human resilience amid unthinkable hardship. Mountains of garbage pile up beside makeshift shelters hastily set by refugees seeking any semblance of safety in this overcrowded enclave. As this Zionist entity intensifies its relentless raids on the Gaza Strip, the displaced scramble to find the least dangerous spots where security has become a rare commodity. The landscape is a haunting scene of destruction. Buildings reduced to rubble, roads shattered, tents pitched in the shadow of cemeteries. Shelter has indeed become a luxury beyond reach for many. 17 years of siege and ongoing genocide have rendered life in Gaza unbearable. The dire living conditions are exacerbated by a severe lack of food, clean water, and health care. To make things worse, sewage leaks have triggered a surge in diseases and skin infections, particularly among the vulnerable. UN humanitarian agencies have issued multiple warnings about the potential outbreak of epidemics, including polio.
We unfortunately have registered positive cases on samples taken on sewage of polio. You might have heard this, and colleagues of WHO and the humanitarian community are working as we speak about putting up a plan to deal with the the risk of polio contamination.
For now, the Al Mawasi camp is a fragile sanctuary, offering a flicker of hope in a landscape overshadowed by relentless adversity. Despite this, the strong spirit of the Palestinian people endures as they refuse to relinquish their dream of establishing their Palestinian state.
Moving on to the West Bank now, 9 Palestinians were killed in 2 Zionist bombings in Tulkarm. Occupation forces also stormed the city, bulldozing and destroying already damaged infrastructure. Sarah Farjani reports now.
The Zionist occupation forces have committed another massacre in the occupied West Bank, targeting innocent Palestinians in Tulkarm. This heinous crime claimed the lives of 5 Palestinians when the Zionist army struck a vehicle in a rural area northwest of the city, completely burning the passengers and making identification impossible.
We came here, we thought there was someone alive, so we could help them. And while we were here and I was standing close to the car, they struck at the young man on the ground who fell martyr. We thought they were targeting us, so we ran near the wall here. And we ran down the street for fear that the rocket would hit us.
Amid their brutal bombing, the occupation forces continued their vengeful tactics, storming Tulkarm with a big army and heavy bulldozers and imposing a strict siege on the city and its camps. Members of the Palestinian Red Crescent were initially denied entry for over an hour before they could inspect the site of the airstrike.
We received information that there were martyrs near the car, and after an hour and a half of not allowing access to the area, the Israeli army withdrew and we arrived here and found the remains of the martyrs. As usual, the situation is bad. We are not allowed to move freely, and the martyrs are being bombed. We found the remains of bodies, brains, skull bones, and a finger.
The occupation forces' rampage didn't stop there. They destroyed homes and vehicles as they advanced towards the eastern neighborhood of Tulkarm city. These barbaric actions once again reveal the Zionist entity's nature as criminal gangs deprived from any sense of humanity and civilization.
Still, with the latest development in the West Bank, Palestinian resistance fighters clashed with Zionist forces who stormed Kafin, north of Tulkarm. Occupation soldiers surrounded the town and besieged the house with armored vehicles, leading to confrontation with the resistance. And in Nablus, a Zionist raid on the Balata camp area led to a Palestinian child being injured by live ammunition. The 14-year-old was shot in the thigh and taken to the hospital. During the same period, occupation forces arrested at least 30 Palestinians, including 2 journalists, children, and former prisoners across various West Bank cities. The raids also involved attacks on detainees' families and destruction of property. The West Bank saw numerous protests and marches marking the National and International Day to support Gaza and prisoners. Organized by the Palestinian Prisoners Club, demonstrators raised slogans condemning Zionist genocide in Gaza, displacement and starvation war tactics.
Where are the international agreements? What are the international organizations doing for what is happening inside the Israeli jails? Our prisoners are being tortured and are dying inside jails. Our women and children are facing genocide in Gaza. Our trees are also being destroyed.
It's time to end these crimes against our people in Gaza and the crimes that are taking place inside the occupation jails. It's genocide and daily killing.
Still with marches and protests, but this time in Rabat, Morocco. Thousands protested the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh and called for an end to normalization with the Zionist entity. Organized by civil society groups, the march denounced the killing as a cowardly Zionist crime and demanded the closure of the so-called Zionist liaison office in Morocco. Two other topical news, but still in the Middle East. One person was killed and two others were injured on Saturday in a Zionist drone strike, that targeted a car in the southern Lebanese city of Tyre. The Lebanese Ministry of Health explained that the strike targeted the car while it was passing through the vicinity of the town of Bazouriyeh in the city of Tyre. On Saturday, still, Hezbollah targeted the Zionist Al-Asi site and a building used by Zionist soldiers in the Matat settlement with artillery and rockets, claiming direct hits. Media reported that fire from Lebanon also struck occupation military targets in the Upper Galilee and around the Matat barracks.
Supporting our steadfast Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip and backing their valiant and honorable resistance, and in response to the Israeli enemy's attacks on the steadfast southern villages and safe homes, particularly the attacks on villages of Kafr Kila and Deir Syrian, which resulted in civilian casualties, the Islamic resistance has introduced the new settlement of Beit Halil into its first schedule and bombarded it for the first time with dozens of Katyusha rockets.
Moving on to Iran now, where the Iranian Revolutionary Guards disclosed that Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh was an assassination by a small-range projectile with 7-kilogram warhead launched from outside his residence. They claimed that the Zionists, with U.S. support, orchestrated the attack. The Guards vowed severe retaliation against the Zionist entity at a later date.
Based on investigations, this terrorist operation was carried out by launching a short-range projectile from outside the guest's residence area with a warhead weighing about 7 kilograms with a powerful explosion. The Zionist entity planned and carried out this act with the support of the criminal U.S. government.
The Iranian Revolutionary Guard emphasized the need for retaliation for Ismail Haniyeh's assassination during a statement in Tehran.
Revenge for the blood of the martyr Ismail Haniyeh is inevitable. The reckless and terrorist Zionist entity will receive a response to this crime with severe punishment in the right time, place, and in the appropriate way.
And in this context, there are growing fears that the Middle East may be heading toward a regional war. This concern is driven by the Zionist entity's aggressive actions on multiple fronts and increased U.S. military mobilization, including sending more missile defenses and military equipment to the region. Here's Sofian Kinturi with more details.
Fears of major regional conflict in the Middle East are rising after Iran and Hezbollah have vowed retaliation for the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran by the Zionist forces and the killing of Hezbollah leader Fuad Shukr in another strike near Beirut.
The responsibility of the United States as a strategic ally and main supporters of the Israeli regime in the region cannot be overlooked in this horrific crime. This act could not be occurred without the authorization and intelligence support of the U.S. The continuation of Israel's aggression threatens peace and stability in the region.
Given the potential for escalation, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin ordered changes to improve the protection of U.S. forces, support Zionist defense, and ensure readiness for emergencies.
The Secretary will be directing multiple forthcoming force posture moves to bolster force protection for U.S. forces region-wide. to provide elevated support to the defense of Israel and to ensure the United States is prepared to respond to this evolving crisis.
In response to the growing concern, British Foreign Secretary David Lammy warned that tensions are high and could quickly worsen. In addition, many Western countries have urged their citizens to leave the region immediately. Meanwhile, several airlines have suspended flights to Beirut Airport. Lufthansa will hold flights until August 12th. Air France and Transavia have extended their suspension until Tuesday, and Kuwait Airways will reduce flights starting Monday. The situation in the Middle East echoes the escalation from early April when the Zionist forces destroyed the Iranian consulate in Damascus, leading Tehran to respond with the launch of hundreds of drones and missiles toward the occupying entity.
Several airlines extended their flight suspensions to Lebanon and the Zionist entity amid fears of a regional war. 15 airlines have now cancelled flights to the entity, including Air Europa, which has suspended flights until Wednesday. Earlier, suspensions were announced by Air India, Lufthansa, United Airlines, and Delta Air. Air France has also extended its suspension of flights to Beirut until Tuesday. Swedish Foreign Minister Tobias Billström announced the temporary closure of Sweden's embassy in Beirut due to security concerns. The decision, driven by the potential for regional escalation, may be extended based on developments. Consular services will be transferred, meanwhile, to the Swedish embassy in Cyprus this August. Moving on to national development now, while Solid Algerian Army General Chief of Staff of the National People's Army Said Chingriha emphasized the importance of professionalism and effective management in providing high-quality services. The statement was made during the inauguration of new facilities at the Family Comfort Center in Zeralda, part of the National Army Day celebrations. The facilities aim to enhance social projects and improve services for beneficiaries. The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, announced a $5.3 billion allocation to address the humanitarian needs of Sudanese refugees in Libya. Additionally, the UN has set up a $1.5 billion humanitarian aid response plan for Sudanese in Libya and other countries, aiming to support around 200,000 Sudanese refugees. And in Morocco, unemployment reached nearly 14% in the first quarter of this year, reflecting worsening economic troubles. Meanwhile, the debate has intensified over a new strike law currently being ratified by Parliament, which unions argue threatens workers' rights and the future of union activities in the country.
The laws and measures introduced by the government in the strike and pension bills are hostile in their content on the rights and gains of the working class on one hand, and to the future of trade union work on the other hand.
In other regional news, or continental news, Venezuela's electoral authorities have confirmed President Nicolás Maduro's third term, with 52% of the vote compared to 43% for opponent Edmundo González Urrutia. On this occasion, Maduro has accused the U.S. of attempting a coup due to protest over the election results, claiming the U.S. sees itself as the global electoral authority and blaming the opposition for inciting the unrest.
I want to denounce a new ambush set for tomorrow. I thought carefully because we could be exposing a source inside these offending commandos. I'm obliged to make this announcement. Part of these commandos, armed with grenades and other weapons, plan to carry out an attack in Belamonte.
Time to catch up on more stories making headlines around the globe with Islam Said this time.
Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Sheikh Al Ghazouani appointed Mukhtar Ould Adjai as Prime Minister on Friday, after Mohamed Ould Bilal Masoud resigned. The appointment, announced by presidential decree, follows the routine government resignation after presidential elections. At least 32 people were killed and 63 others were wounded in an attack on a beach hotel in Mogadishu in Somalia, according to police. On Friday night, armed men stormed a popular beachfront hotel in the Somali capital, frequented by senior government officials. The Libyan Investment Authority expects UN approval by year-end to actively manage its $70 billion assets. CEO Ali Mahmoud Mohammed is confident the Security Council will approve their investment plan by November or December. Vice President Kamala Harris has secured enough Democratic delegate votes to become the party's presidential nominee. Although online voting continues until Monday, Harris has already achieved a majority. Meanwhile, former President Trump announced he has accepted Fox News' offer to debate Vice President Kamala Harris on September 4th in Pennsylvania. The specific location for the event is yet to be decided. The U.S. stock market saw its worst drop since the COVID-19 pandemic, closing lower on Friday. The Nasdaq entered correction territory as weak job data raised concerns about an economic slowdown. On the other hand, global stock markets were shaken as U.S. unemployment surged to a three-year high. The weak jobs report heightened recession fears, leading to a nearly 3% drop in the European Stoxx 600 index and declines across most European sub-indexes.
To sports news now. Algerian boxer Iman Khalif has secured at least a bronze medal at the 2024 Olympics by reaching the semifinals in under 66 weight category. The 25-year-old advanced after defeating Hungary's Anna Luca Hamori in the quarterfinals. Here's Nabil Khazini with the story now.
The atmosphere outside ahead of Iman Khalif's quarter-final bout was already heated. Fans coming from everywhere to support her, united by the unwavering faith that the Algerian boxer would triumph.
I came here to watch my first fight in these Olympic Games, even though I live here in Paris. But like my friend here said, our hearts beat for Iman Khalif. We are all here to support her, even if the entire world is against her. We are all with her. Go Iman, we wait for the gold.
I came here because of this controversy. I bought my ticket just now. I said I'd come here and support a woman from my country and support her with everything.
Khalif received a rock-star welcome as she entered the ring to compete against her Hungarian opponent, Anna Hamari. The Algerian boxer dominated the three-round contest, guaranteeing herself and her country an Olympic medal as she won her second bout of the Olympics. The moment was so emotional, Iman Khalif collapsed in tears. Iman showed everyone that she is determined to fulfill her promise. She promised to raise the Algerian flag high and to make resound the Algerian anthem in Paris at the most important sporting event in the world. For Iman Khalif, it's time to write her name in the book of Olympic champions.
And on this occasion, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune congratulated Iman Khalif on reaching the Paris Olympics semi-finals following her victory over Hungarian Anna Luca Hamori. In a tweet, President Abdelmajid Tebboune praised Khalif for honoring Algeria, Algerian women, and boxing, and offered support for her upcoming matches, wishing her the best of luck. And finally in our news, following her semi-final qualification in the under 66 kilogram category, Algerian boxer Iman Khalif has received widespread praise from the Algerian public for her resilience despite facing a challenging campaign. Many athletes also showed solidarity with Khalif, who has garnered significant support from the sports community in the Olympic Village. Meanwhile, International Olympic Committee President Thomas Bach voiced support for Khalif, emphasized his refusal to engage in politically motivated disputes.
And how can somebody being born, raised, competed and having a passport as a woman cannot be considered a woman? But we will not take part in a politically motivated, sometimes politically motivated cultural war. And allow me to say that what is going on in this context in the social media with all this hate speech, with this aggression and abuse, and fueled by this agenda, is totally unacceptable.
And with this, ladies and gentlemen, our news comes to a close. For more updates, you can always check our social media platforms. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, do take care.